Today we have a special guest. The first week we had Kaylee, one of our territory sales representative. Marnie is another one of them. We love to do these new webinars that are a little bit more about sales, or actually consultant approach with the reps. They have huge experience in this, and it's really cool to have them on. So I would love to tell you about Marnie, but I don't think I know much other than I've met her at her national sales meeting 2 years ago. She's been an incredible partner to Cabico since probably forever, and then before that with her mom. And so we're really, really happy. Fun fact about you, Marnie?
Oh gosh, fun fact about me is I'm going a little stir crazy. I'm used to traveling and I need to go somewhere. I don't really care where it is.
Come here.
Oh, okay, well, you're cold.
No, it's nice right now. It's like almost summer.
Oh, totally. Okay.
That means there's less snow.
Yeah. Also, I have 2 kids and I'm homeschooling.
Cool, no problem. And we also have my co-host of always, the fabulous Jessica Smalley, your national sales trainer. So I'll skip over the intro because you know her. Hopefully by now, I'll just say that she's been the shining star for the past 4 years here at Cabico.
No, I've only been the shining star since like February.
Not in my mind.
Agreed.
So, without further ado, I'm Stefan Miller, your Cabico Experience Manager, and today I will host with Marnie the webinar about building better relationships. So it's our first webinar in a series of webinars where we will cover subjects relating to managing your clients and really showing them value, building relationship, building trust, so that you can ask all the right questions that need to be asked and make sure that they get the product they want and the service they need, and you will provide to them. So it's all about cementing that relationship, and especially the first one today. So we'll start with giving you an overview about the whole program that we want to put out, and then specifically about today, building better relationships. So it's really cool first in our series of helping designers have a little easier time managing and interacting with clients when we're talking more about sales than talking about designs, and how to mesh those two together and actually make it work well. Sounds about right, Marnie?
Sounds perfect.
Cool. So without further ado, let me share my screen. Screen 1, there we go. Okay. So this is what we call the designer consultant. And the program is about what I just mentioned a little earlier. So we just gave it the designer consultant name here. The whole program will be actually broken up in 4 steps, in probably an equivalent of 4 webinars. The first one today, Relate. This is actually the official launch of it, but we had a session last week where we kind of prototyped it, and we figured out that we have too much to do. So we might need to actually break Relate into 2 sections. So building better relationships is about relating. So that's what we'll do today. But the program will offer you in the weeks to come. So we'll repeat this webinar Relate for a couple of weeks until we've covered the good number of you that want to attend. And then we'll move on to Discover. So that's the second module about discovering the client needs. And oftentimes they have apparent needs, but their true needs are a little hidden. And the apparent needs is to have kitchen cabinets, but the true needs sometimes are more emotional in the background. It's about feeling safe, feeling understood, feeling excited. So we will discover there how to probe both sides of the coin and actually make it easy and have a little process around it to keep it easy. And then we'll move into Propose. So that will be a couple further weeks down the road, where how can we organize our proposal so it really sticks to what the client wants and expects. How can we make it match perfectly their needs so that the selling process becomes the easiest part of your job. The whole thing is all, of course, based off of studies. Many companies are using this approach, the consultant approach, and that really helps that section being the lightest and the easiest way to sell is by building relationship, discovering, then proposing. And in this model, we'll also have a module on supporting. So once the sale is done, do I disappear? Or am I still there? Am I there to help out if there's any issues with a problem with a door? Is there any issues with the delivery? Is there any issues with the warranty afterwards? So all of that support that drives back into building better relationships, either for that client to have a second sale eventually, or just that word of mouth that builds that trust for you by that first client. So that's the goal of this designer consultant program that we'll put forth in 4 steps today, the relate. So that's what I call the consultant mindset. So before I move on, Marnie, of course, I'll throw it over to you for my color commentary and field experience, specifically there. And when we talked about this, because we did build this with Marnie and other reps, and they really liked it. So what's your sense of these 4 steps, Marnie?
Well, I like that it's broken out. And I think what a lot of you will find out is you probably do a lot of these things or some form of them, but maybe you've just never had a name associated with it. And it's just like anything else. When you're aware of it, you tend to, understand it more and then are able to replicate it better. And so I think you're really going to enjoy that part of this. I also think that this is really going to help you kind of like close the loop on the sales process and really be able to identify where you are with your different clients and then figure out maybe what step you missed and be able to go back and really reestablish that to help close the sale.
There you go. Love it, Marnie. And you're basically talking about the coaching aspect of it. So I might do this naturally, but now that we can name it and put it in a box, it's actually something I can, hey, this is how you do it. So stuff that you might do naturally and go, I can't really tell you how to do it. You just have to have it or not. Now you probably have a little bit of language to be able to put in words and say, hey, this is what you're doing right, or this is what you can change to improve. So love that, Marnie. Thank you. Now, if I move forward, you'll see too in this webinar, we'll keep things very, very interactive. I'll give you actual assignments. We'll break off into breakout groups. I'm just checking here to be able to do so. Jessica, you'll probably either have to put me host.
Oh, right. I'm technically the host, so.
So we won't do it right now, but we'll actually assign you in small groups and give you tasks. So we will do a little bit of concept. We will try it in practice. Best way to actually integrate instead of just me and Marnie doing a conversation of sorts or a monologue. So to me, the first step into the consultant mindset before going into our relate or building better relationships is to have a balanced approach. There's 2 sides to a good designer that is able to go in their sales process pretty well. So it's kind of finding that nice balance between, on one side, your experience. So, and that's easy to understand. If I have no experience in design, no experience in woodworking, I won't do a good job at being a designer or a dealer. So that comes to you either from knowledge that you've acquired through the years, the competence that you've honed. It could also be from schooling. You went to design school, and all of that becomes your experience, that knowledge, cognitive, that competence, that usually streetwise, that you've applied and went well. And it's also about your tools. So you have spectrum, you have training like today, or training on the product knowledge. So all of that becomes your baggage of tools, competence, knowledge that speak to your experience. Now, it doesn't mean because I have 15, 20, 25 years experience that I'm good with clients. Some actually have very little success, and they're just like, they're terrific at designing, but don't have them talk to the client because they'll just run out the door. So that might happen. That's why we need that balance with the other side of the balance, the equation, the people skills. So I might have 25 years experience, but I'm stubborn, I don't listen well, I don't create a trusting relationship with my clients, well, they won't buy from us. So I need to have some interpersonal skills. I need to be able to build relationships with people and communicate well. So that's our focus more in these programs. You have tons of experience, you are a little experienced depending on your level, but that's not what I'm working on today. We do have webinars to help you with a couple of tools, but today and in this series, we'll really focus on the people skills. So how to increase, find, hone those interpersonal relationship and communication skills. Sounds good? Any questions here? Remarks, challenges? We're all open for that. Let us know either through unmuting yourself or nodding, because I do see your, for those of you that have a camera on, which is great, by the way, I see if you're engaged or if I need to talk to a different point. So, but please let us know. In any case, we'll make you work on it. So everybody actually needs at least a mic eventually. So moving forward, if you don't have a mic, please let us know right away. We'll find a way. So here, the addition or the balance between the experience and the people skills is what helps have this consultant mindset. And you'll see we'll actually talk about that as opposed to maybe more of a traditional sales approach. That traditional sales approach in my mind is the vacuum salesman, door-to-door vacuum salesman, or the used car salesperson that we caricature so much, where there's a lot of push, a lot of trying to convince, not necessarily helping out, but trying to negotiate with you or pressure you. So that's not the model we are going for here. And that's why before bringing this, I talked with the reps, I talked with dealers and designers, and that approach that I'm proposing today, which is the approach I was taught, is the consultant approach. And there's a lot of US businesses that are using this. There's big companies like Wilson Learning, the SRG group that have this approach. Google uses a similar approach to this in their sales with businesses. So it's a proven approach. And the first step, the designer's dilemma. So oftentimes we're kind of pulled. If I'm a dealer, I might see myself more as a strategist making sales. If I'm a consultant, I might be pulled between two. I want to be the consultant. I want to be there to show value to my client. I want to be there to design great kitchens, to understand their needs. But I might not define myself as somebody that is there to make sales or hit numbers. So if I put it in other words, there's the strategist aspect. I'm here to make a sale from myself and my company. And then there's this consultant aspect of it. I'm here to help my customers address their design needs. And you might sometimes feel at odds here. So I'll ask you, who in this room feels that dilemma? Pulled in one way towards, I have to hit numbers, make sales, and pulled in another way where I really want to help my clients, but I feel those are at odds. So Steve feels that, Tricia, Amy, Mike, a lot of you, Jason, raise his hands. So a lot of you are feeling that. I'm just checking if there's other in the chat that are sharing that too. So, and I used to feel that too. First, before going into training, because I was trained on this, and I was a consultant before working with Cabico, and I used to train sales. And just to give you a little story about this, my old boss came and saw me before I was training in sales, and I was teaching other stuff. And she said to me, I'm looking for somebody to train in sales. And I just bluntly told her, well, you got the wrong person. I'm not in sales. I don't do sales. I'm more of a consultant. And she's like, yes, exactly. What do you mean? She says, go check out this website. The specific approach is Wilson Learning, but it's the same for many different companies. It's the consultant approach. So I go to that website and I look at the designer's dilemma. I look at the other stuff. It says, this is exactly how I approach my clients. I feel like a consultant. So I had that designer's dilemma. I had that salesperson dilemma in the past. So the way we can figure a way out of this is not to oppose those. It's actually to be a strategist consultant. So I can be both. I can be here to make a sale for myself and my company by helping my customer address their needs. So to me, it's not one way or the other. It's how do we make both work? So if I'm really good at building relationship, building trust with my clients, then understanding really their needs, and then proposing a solution that perfectly fits that, I will automatically make better sales and more sales, and then will fulfill that strategist aspect. So by doing my consultant job really well, I will be a good strategist too, or at least I will enable that within the company. So to me, it's not about one or the other. Is doing my consultant job really well will actually have a great impact on the bottom line. So if a client ever asks me, are you there to sell me cabinets? I'll say, of course I'm here to sell you cabinets, but only and only if you want them. So that's kind of a way to me to phrase that mindset instead of being opposed and going together. Yes, I will be transparent. I am here to sell cabinets, but only if those cabinets are your dream cabinets. That's the only condition here. So if you want them, we'll make sure that I get you the best ones. So it's part of my job to make sure that I offer something they really want. To do that, I have to understand their needs, and before them allowing me to ask a lot of questions, they have to trust me. Sounds good? So I'd like to throw it off also to the people. Anyone here had experiences like this where they managed to go above that bump of either being a strategist or a consultant and make it work for them? Or any that want to share the issues they're living through right now? Because we want to make this interactive and we want to make this co-development. I don't hold all the answers. Marnie doesn't hold all the answers. Jessica, yes, but that's another thing.
No.
Steve, did you want to, oh, you're still on mute. Let me unmute you. Go, Steve.
I guess I grew up in the appliance industry where I was really had to sell, had a certain quota to get to. And as I developed into the kitchen business and design business, I thought I could bring that in, and it worked against me terribly, I guess, as Stefan's bringing up at this point. So in a different way than consulting, I worked with a lot of builders, and what I would watch on the Fridays is how they sat down and they worked the budget with high-end customers, where they said we had a certain amount of money for this, certain amount of money for that. If we do this, we got to take money from that. And I started to do it in sales approach. And oh my gosh, I became the good guy rather than the bad guy in working in large projects with people. And I was doing the same thing, but just approaching it in a different way.
Exactly. And sometimes it uses the same skills, but it's the mindset behind it that kind of changes the whole ballpark. I know, Lynn, you wanted to share something too, so I'll unmute you. You can unmute yourself. Go ahead, Lynn.
Yes, I've been in sales, I think, my entire life. And I was involved in a company, I'm still involved in, it's cosmetics and skincare. And one of the things that they taught us, and this was long ago, was the bottom line is find a need and fill it. So if you find out what your client's need is and you fulfill that need, there's no reason to sell them anything because they need what you're offering. And that's always worked for me in no matter what job I've been in.
I love it, Lynn. And to me, you just say it super well. It's not about creating needs. That's the traditional sales approach. It's about uncovering needs. That's the consultant. So I'm not there to push you a certain cabinet or push you a certain style. I want to understand, what do you like? What do you don't like about your current kitchen? What are your projects in a couple of years? How does your kitchen fit within the rest of the house? What do you like about your house? So the more I know about that, the more I know their actual needs, and I can offer them only stuff that fits with that need. And then that makes the sales process actually a piece of cake. Yes, thank you, Lynn. Steve, back to you.
When I first go out to the house, it's kind of an awkward situation when you're going out, and I let people talk for a little bit, and then I kind of look around and I say, look, I got a feeling I'm going to like everything you like. What could help me a lot more is what you don't like. And you can see their guard just get relaxed at one time. You know, where I hate black and white floors. My neighbor hates this and hates that. It's a way of me dropping the guard when I'm in the house for the first time with people. That's a good approach. And I think, you know, there you're talking about consulting rather than strategic. And I like that.
Yeah, cool. Excellent. Any other ones that want to share their experience or their challenges before we move on? We'd love to hear from you. Cool. And Marnie, you can jump in at any time too.
Well, I was just going to say two quick things with Lynn.
I knew it.
I'm sorry.
No, that's where you're here.
with what Lynn said, someone worded it to me, and this was kind of an aha moment for me long ago. They said, if you do all the right things leading up to the sale, or you do all the right consultant things, the sale is just the natural next step. So it's not really, you're not even having to ask for the sale because you've done all the legwork and all the things leading up to it, that's just what should happen next regardless. And I also, what you said, Steve, also a mentor of mine long ago said, you know, turning up the pain, for lack of a better word, with someone is really helpful. It's almost like a doctor diagnosing what's wrong. You know, you want to understand what are their pains, what are their ailments, and then you can really come in as that consultant and help them fix it. You're writing a prescription for them, and that a doctor doesn't really feel like he's selling you something. So those are just my two kind of comments. I really liked what you guys said.
Cool. Great points there on pain, because we'll look in the discovery, the next module, about what are the pain points. What is the client suffering about? And if there's a pain, there's a gap. And if there's a gap, we can help fill it with our design and our products. So it's really cool. So this will go really well. We're on the ball here. So let's move forward a little bit and talk about the consultant mindset, or in another way of saying it, the problem-solving mindset. So goes back to Marnie and Steve's points about being there to see what the pain points are and being able to problem solve them. And I typically say there is 4 steps and 4 no's that the client will give you. So there is the no trust. How do I know that I can trust you and your company? And the important point here is I can't only trust your company. Again, I cannot only trust you. I have to trust both. So I think Marnie is the best one, but I don't trust the bidding group at all. That won't go far. I can trust the bidding group, but Marnie, she's a special one. That won't go far either. So how can I trust you and your company? We'll work a little bit on that today. The second no is, do I have a need for anything you have to offer? So yes, I trust you, Marnie, and I trust the bidding group, but I don't see that I need to change my kitchen. I think it's pretty fine right now, though I hate the color. Or I hate this. But I just don't feel that there's a need. So that would be the discovery process, looking at the pains. Then there's the no help. So I trust you, I trust your company. I need to change my kitchen, but I don't think what you're proposing will actually help me out. So that's another module we'll create to address the no help. And then lastly, no satisfaction. It's a popular song. So now that I've made my decision, will I be sorry? So I trusted you. I know I have to change my kitchen. You provided great cabinets. I love them, but there's been problems. I had to return this damn door 3 times and it keeps not matching. The color's off, the grain's not good, it's bumped, and you did nothing to help me out. So I won't buy from you again. So those are the 4 no's. But I also often say there's a 5th no. Would anybody hazard a guess? Points are available. If you guess right, I will give you points. By the end of this training, if you get the most points, you get official bragging rights. Marnie will thank you by singing you a song. She didn't know that. So what would be a 5th no? So there's Steve?
Yeah, I'm sorry, money, finances.
Finances, that could be, I think, in the because I can always make sure that the kitchen fits within a certain budget to a certain degree. So it's a good try, but I would fit it within the no need, no help. Any other no's? And I'll give you a hint. It's not the clients.
How about no confidence?
Laura, I'm sorry?
Sometimes no confidence on our part, sometimes does it and destroys the sale.
Why would there be no confidence on your part? I find this interesting.
Oh, I've seen that with so many people I have hired that, it was not good. They couldn't ask for the money. They were not comfortable financially themselves, and they thought that that's a lot of money, and they couldn't bring themselves to kind of think that what they're doing it's valuable, as equal as the tag on the cabinets.
Yeah. So you're really close. I'll give you the point, Laura. I like the way you phrased it. It is the consultant's no, your no. And the way Laura put it is no because I lack maybe confidence. It's no maybe because I lack competence. But there is also the no that you can say to your client. I can say, you know what? We're not the right partners for you because of this and that and that. I'll just never say straight off no, but I'll say, you know what? For that type of kitchen, you would be better going off to this or this other retailer, because in our types of kitchens, we are maybe at a higher price point, or we're for a different type of project. So the consultant no can actually be a good tool if wielded properly. I have to have a lot of experience and great interpersonal skills. I have to have good balance to be able to use it, but that can be really cool. Jessica.
I'm actually just curious how many people here have intentionally lost a job, like for that exact reason, like as a consultant saying no because either you felt like it wasn't a fit or you knew that they were going to be a troublesome person. Yes. Jason says a few times, yeah, I see lots of people put up hands. And typically, how do you guys do that? Do you just add like a PITA charge, a pain in the ass fee, so that you're pricing yourself out of their budget? Or what is your approach to that?
Tricia, go ahead. Oh, you're mute. There you go.
Another lifetime, I was actually a fence and deck builder, and I constantly, because I owned the company, I was constantly the one with my face in their faces and, dealing with people that way. And I mean, for me, I know a lot of times it was that the customer just wanted to feel like they were winning. They wanted to know that they were getting the best deal possible, and that makes them feel like a win. So if I mean, we've all priced in our margins to whatever it is that we're presenting to the client. If we can let them win, so to speak, by giving them a deal, a lot of times that would work out. But there were times when, I mean, honestly, they just wanted to beat me down so that I would be almost paying them for the privilege of coming to do the job. Like, oh, okay, I don't think this is going to work out. And I mean, fortunately for me, there were always lots of other competitions circling around, so I could always say, I would be happy to go over and talk to those guys if you would like me to, send somebody over to quote you on what they're offering. Just to prove that, this is what I'm offering. This is what you're getting for the dollars that I'm asking for. And let's just see, like, is it a good value? Let's just see what these other people are offering. And does it compare? Are they blowing me out of the water? Then maybe I do need to reconsider. And I always wanted to sort of have a face toward the customer that said, I'm willing to admit that I don't know everything. more than happy to work with you on prices. But when it came down to it, sometimes I would just, you know, I usually had a pretty good way of developing a good rapport with people, which I think is super important. If you can't develop rapport with people, that's, you know, sorry for you. But yeah, sometimes you just have to say, you know, I'm sorry, I don't think I can help you. You know.
That's it. That's a great example, Tricia, of that consultants know. And because it can be on, and that you're touching on a really good point, because to me, I'm not selling on price, I'm selling on value. Because if you're selling on price, you're always going towards the bottom of the market. And if you look at great brands, and there's tons of them, it could be Nike shoes. When do you see Nike shoes on special? Not that often. It'll happen for a store, and even then, the stores that sell Nike shoes will have to get authorization from Nike to do a sale. If you go even higher, Louis Vuitton, I've never seen a Louis Vuitton sale. They always sell at the same price, and they have great margins, and people love Louis Vuitton, or at least those that do. But they don't make any sales because they sell on value, they sell on their brand image, they sell on all of that. So as a consultant, that's where I want to bring value. I'll show you why this is worth this much, and probably more, because of my design, because of my my support that I'm giving you, because I'll be there all the way. And if that's a great match for you, great, we'll be good partners. But if you're absolutely looking for the best price, you probably will find better prices elsewhere. And I'm okay if you want to go to that person. Let you know, though, this is what I think I can bring as value that will be different from that person or that of the company. But depending on your values and what you want to go, it might go to them or might go to me, and it's entirely fine. So that's where that goes to where you're saying that helps build trust, and that trust will allow you to do that. And you have to be confident. You have to know your products, where it falls, what range it goes, what customer it links to, and which customers it doesn't, so that you can then spend your time more wisely, and their time too, so that they can go to the right person to provide them the right kitchen. So if you do all the price points, that's even good, because you'll be able to fit it in the right brand line to fit with that price point. Thank you, Tricia. Thank you, everybody. That's pretty cool.
I don't normally say no, but I'm stalling in the process. And why I'm stalling is because many times they get overly excited, especially the initial design stage, when they see everything decked up and they see the design and the realistic renderings. They get overly excited and they go, so when can we get it? But at this point, we haven't covered everything, and they're building their expectations according to their dreams. And there's no bigger disappointment than no match of the offering to the expectation. Like if they're expecting the world and I can offer them only half, they won't be good.
Yeah.
So that's why I say not yet. You know, we have to cover all the points so you don't end up regretting it to the rest of your life, but loving it. And said, so let's go now through this, and this, and I'll assume the lead and continue guiding them.
Yeah, managing expectations is incredibly helpful, and it's worthwhile. The more you manage, the more time and satisfaction.
I've seen many young salespeople that jump right away. They're so excited that the customer now is saying yes, and they want to go for it.
Yeah.
And they don't manage the expectations, and they go for it, and then it comes back with vengeance.
Oh, I hear you. You're so right, Laura, in that. And if I bring you back to my screen, the problem-solving mindset, I will actually tell you the order is incredibly important. When I meet a client for the first time, I will only relate. I won't try even to sell them anything. I am there at least to build a relationship with them. And that could be their first meeting, just to build relationships. If I do, and it's going well, I might move to the second step. But I'll never discover before making sure we have a basic working relationship together and we establish mutual trust. Then and only then will I start to discuss products. And I'm not still selling anything. I'll undiscover needs. So that's where I think it echoes what you're saying, Laura, is take your time, manage expectations. let's get to know each other. Let's see if we can be good partners in this. Then let me understand truly all your needs and your pain points, the gaps between what you have right now and where you want to be. And then and only then can I start to recommend stuff. Because before that, I'm selling to myself. If I'm going in because I really love this design and I've seen a couple of clients buy this design and this is what I start off and I lead it and pitch it to my clients before even saying hi, I'm selling to myself, not to the client. I need the client to trust me, you need to trust them, and then understand what they need and what they want. And then it'll make it super easy. Excellent. Thank you. Yes, Marty.
Really quick, I was just going to say, I think that's another really great takeaway from this training, and you all kind of putting a name to each of the phases, because if you get a no in the end, chances are you didn't do one of those things. You didn't build that trust. You didn't fill the need. You didn't help them, or you didn't support them. And so being able to really identify the 4 steps and call them out by name, when you get your no's, you're going to be able to go back and go, okay, well, what didn't I do right?
Exactly. And I have so many examples to go to that. Just to give you one, it's not related to cabinetry. It was in my past life where we would sell media. So we would sell in the local papers. And I had a great kid that was starting off, really eager, great heart, curious, ask questions. So she would meet a new client for the first time, and I was on the call with her. And it was face-to-face. And she was, hi, I'm from this media and that. You reached out to us, and I'm here to talk about your media needs. It's like, oh, okay. And she started right away. So what type of things did you did last time? Or what type of impact are you trying to? And she's like, the client just climbed up. Just climbed up. The more and more she asked questions, would climb up more and more and more. And she would have less and less questions. I saw the poor kid just sweating. And I just, I said, no, let me help you out. I just jumped in. And I saw her going from relate to discover really too quickly. She did not establish trust. And I just jumped in and said, you know what? Because the client was saying directly to them, aren't you in the media? Aren't you supposed to sell me something? Why are you asking me all these questions? Clearly no trust. So I just went back and I noticed that she had an accent. And I'm not too bad with accents, being a Frenchie. I have my own. I hear the other people's accents. I'm like, I'm taking a risk here. Is your accent Polish? And she said, yes. So you're from Poland? And she said, oh, yes. Are you recently? Oh, I just came over. And then she started to talk about her journey from Poland to Canada. She was actually immigrating in Halifax. And we talked about a little bit about that and how her integration went, how the community was responsive, and how we are close to the community too as a local paper and all of that. And that just helped build trust there, because we talked about her experience, our experience, and then naturally she went and said, you know what, one thing about this community is we don't advertise enough in the paper. So, okay, I'm good. You're telling me to sell it to you. I'm good. You've established trust and we moved on. But that's just going to the point that I will spend enough time in that first relate before moving to discover, and I'll spend enough time in discover before moving to recommendations. So enough about that. We have a lot to cover. And believe me, and I'll go to you in a moment, Steve. We've just tested this, and I have too much. So we'll actually split it up. We'll do part of it today and part of it as a set follow-up. Go ahead, Steve.
Oh, I was just going to say, after like consultation, I always try to ask what their expectations are of our company or of me personally. And that kind of puts their guard down a little bit too, and lets them express a little bit more of their maybe personal fears or expectations that they're having of your company.
Good. And now I'll go over this slide really quickly because we've talked about it, about the traditional sales approach, much more about overcoming objections than spending time building rapport, into the consultant counselor approach, where we spend most of our time building relationship, then discovering. So advocating or proposing becomes a small part of the effort, but we're there back again with support. I see it as an hourglass. The more support I do, the more sand drops into the bottom, the more build a relationship, the more trust I'm building. So support, to me, I sum it up in one phrase. To err is human, to correct it is divine. So we'll mess up sometimes, but I'll be the first to let you know and bring you a solution to that mess up, or a path to solution. So let's address this relate. We'll share a couple of tools today on answering that no trust and building that trust with the client. So the module, the purpose of it, to find the symptoms and address them, and how to avoid the no trust. How we'll go about it, our process for this activity that we'll do. We'll talk about 4 critical relating skills, and I'll give you a little exercise to practice it and give me your path's solution to that, because you probably know this. We'll just put our collective minds together. And what's the payoff for you at the end of this no trust module? Well, will enable you to raise the customer's comfort level faster or better or both. So it's actually getting you to that discover part faster, easier, and more efficiently. Sounds good? We've already laid a lot of groundwork there. So I'd like to present a little graphic to understand this. It's a time and tension graphic. Just give you an example, there is your relationship in time with the client, with the bottom bar, and then the tension level with your client, the vertical bar. There's 2 types of tension, relationship tension and task tension. So the relationship tension is, how much do I trust you? Is there a lot of tension between you and me now? Are you a salesperson or are you a consultant? And the task tension is, how much do we have going on together? How much am I planning the next steps as a client? So when you start a new relationship with a client, would you say your task tension is high, like butterfly in the stomach, they're not sure about you, or low? So you can point high or low when you start, first meeting. Relationship tension is high, usually. So butterflies in the stomach. It's just like going on a date for the first time. It's like, will he like me? Will she like me? Are the flowers good? Should I have brought in chocolate? Whole country. I should have put some country music. And so that there's a tension that's latent. You might not speak of it, but it's there. So if I'm a client going to your showroom or meeting you for the first time, I'm like, do they have great kitchens? Are they trying to push me some stuff where they have comps on? How many years have they been in? Am I getting a junior designer? So the tension is there. So it's about making that tension lower. And the task tension, how much stuff am I planning? I'm planning very little right now. I'm actually just trying to figure out if we can work together. So as a consultant, I'm trying to raise the task tension, make you think about next steps. That goes really well with managing expectations. Think about the next steps, what we can do, what we'll talk about in design, how can I propose you stuff, and how you'll tell me about stuff. And the relationship, I want to have the tension go down so that we feel trust and go, oh, okay, we can work together. So what that intersection, that green dot, that's where we assign our kitchen. That's the productive area all to the right of that. So we want to bring that relationship tension faster down, and we want to raise that task tension a little faster too. So we get to that point a little quicker. And we can do that by doing a great job of being a consultant, and that makes our strategist side really happy too. So a couple of things to do that. My golden equation. To build trust, I say credibility. Well, I say. Research, a lot of wiser people than me say credibility plus empathy builds trust. So we need to work on how can we establish credibility, our own and our business credibility. How can I show empathy? And then that will generate trust. And don't worry, I'll give you these slides at the end of this too. So I love that you take notes, but I'll give you these slides. A lot of people, especially for empathy, go, well, you got it or you don't. And I tend to disagree. It's harder to work on empathy, but it is possible. There's structures, there's ways to go around that I don't need to sound whiny or overly sympathetic to show empathy. So we'll talk about that if we have the time, but this is probably the empathy part, something that we'll have to do on a part 2 of our relationship, but we'll definitely build credibility. Now, a couple of ways to do so. I have 4 pillars. The 4 pillars to build credibility. One is propriety, one is competence, commonality, and intent. And with the collective minds here, I'm pretty sure I don't have to too much explain it. I'd actually love for any of you to say, unmute yourself or write me in the chat, how would you define propriety, or how would you talk about being proper with your client? Anybody wants to jump in? Any risk takers? Points are available.
Could that be where you talked about your business model to somebody?
What do you mean?
Like where you just explain your company and what you do as services and maybe what you're willing to do for them?
You're actually describing me competence.
Okay.
So love it, but that's the next step. Yeah, you're thinking, slow down, Steve. So, but you're describing me almost perfectly to a T competence. Demonstrating my competence can be talking about past projects I've done, past project my company has done. So I love it. I'll take it, put in competence, give you a point. So the propriety, being proper. How can you be proper in regards to your clients?
I think we gotta keep our distance and not jump and touch them inappropriately, and open up there and show them a very deep V-neck, and
Well, it depends on the client.
the words we use,
Yeah.
when you start kind of speaking French fluently right from the beginning,
You got
and
it.
answer the phone and say a few things really good, I think that can really
Yes.
help the relationship.
You-
So there are many ways we can be proper, and especially a person we are meeting for the first time.
Mhm.
And if it's not a referral, not talking bad about the competition, not saying anything bad about other customers, let's say, or clients, and saying, I just worked with the jerk and I just finished up with him. And, it just, that's all not
Yes.
appropriate.
It's some basic stuff, but you're right. The way you talk, are you proper? The way you smell too. Bodily odor can be proper and improper. That V-neck, depending on the type of clients you're meeting, could be completely out the window or not good. For some other clients, they might not mind at all. Some might actually like it. But that's being proper. So know your type of clients, if you can, ahead of time, and be proper. I just have one example on this where I didn't know I was improper. I was meeting a client, and my first language is French. I've been using this level of English for a good number of years now, so I think I'm pretty okay with English. And was out in the eastern provinces of Canada, and I was traveling with another rep, and the rep would introduce herself because she would have the relationship with that client, and said, "Here's my colleague, Stéphane Lamoureux," like really French, and that guy immediately just turned to me and said, "I hope you speak English at least." I'm like, oh, wow, okay, improper. My name was improper to him, to his value, to his mindset. It was improper. So of course I went back with my best possible, least amount of French accent English and go, "I can guarantee you, sir, that I do speak English, and I'll be happy to understand your business needs." So I just let it roll off my back. That's not a problem, but I'll show you that I can adjust to that. So just one example, yes, but propriety is one of these things. Tricia.
Add to that and maybe say that in meeting anybody, whether it's a client or somebody we're meeting as a friend for the first time, established common ground is often a really, really great place to start. Like, "Hi, how are you? Where are you from?" Just normal, sort of commonplace questions, but just to let them know that you're not just there to sell them on something. And
Exactly.
claws are into them. Like, be genuine, be yourself, be genuine, and be friendly. And people usually respond in kind, so it's kind of a good place to start, I think.
Definitely. Thank you, Tricia. So we've talked about property or propriety, being proper. We've talked about competence, demonstrating my past knowledge, and sometimes anybody here that is a fairly new designer, somebody that has like a year or two maximum, let me know if that's the case. Because sometimes when I get the fresher designers, they go, "It's hard for me to demonstrate competence. I'm just fresh out of school." Well, there's competence from you, you got something out of school, you can talk about that. You might be on top of the newest trends because you're right out of school. You might have been working as an intern, so you might have a lot of things really fresh in mind, the newest products, you know about them maybe. So you can really position competence still, even if you're fresh out of school. And plus, there's competence for your business. You can talk about your business trusted you to be a designer, and they've done great things too. So by extension, there's a little bit of trust that's been extended from your company to you, and you can talk about that. Now, commonality. Marty, do you want to interact?
Well, I was going to say when I was new in this business, you know, I started in this business about 11 years ago, and I joined my mom's company, and who had built a really strong reputation in this industry. And so I used her competence. So I saw that someone on the call had said they're a design assistant. You know, I think it's okay to use someone else's competence, or I used the competence of my company. So I may be new at this, but Cabico has been, you know, selling to dealers in the US for over 30 years, and here's their competence. So I think it's important in talking about competence that it may not be yours, and you may have to borrow from someone else's competence, and that's okay.
Yeah, definitely. So there you go. Now, to move to the next pillar, commonality. So what's commonality? How do I demonstrate that? How do I build commonality? I'll ask you, because you're doing fine up to now. But I'd like to hear from other people, because Steve has great ideas, Lynn has great ideas, Trisha has great ideas, but I'm sure Mike has great ideas too. He says no.
Like, don't shake your head, Mike.
So Mike or somebody else, I'll volunteer someone.
I think Mike's great for commonality. Come on.
So what are we referring as commonality? Like, I have an issue, the same issue that my client has?
Well, seeking common grounds. So it could be same issue, yes. How can you make him feel welcome, or you can build bridges with them?
At ease, yeah.
At ease, yes.
Well, I like some of the other folks that said I always started a meeting where we're just sitting and discussing anything other than their kitchen and
Yeah.
learning about them. And then I shared with them about my company and what we do. So we've started transitioning to retainers. So I don't know how many folks in this meeting are doing retainers. So the first meeting is basically just a meeting to sit down and get to know each other and to see if we're actually even going to work well together to begin with. And then we, of course, set up the steps, the expectations of what they can expect by working with us, how that process works through, and explain what the next step is to them, and which in some cases is after that first meeting could very possibly be a retainer, depending on the client and who they are and what they're looking for.
Cool.
But commonality, that's what I see. I'm not sure what your definition is in this chart here.
But do you do anything to put your clients at ease, or find stuff that you share in common between you and them
Absolutely.
to make them feel at ease?
It goes back to the very beginning. Like, we'll sit down and discuss, and I'll dabble on the pain point.
Yep.
Usually we've all shared the pain point at some point in our life, or
Yeah.
we can relate it to another pain point that we have and how we dealt with that pain point. So usually anybody that walks into the showroom or picks up the phone and calls you has a pain point. We figure that out. We share our competence on how to solve that pain point. And because I've had this situation with another client or myself personally.
Yep.
One thing that Mike does really well with commonality that he may not even know. So Mike is one of my customers, and they actually have their dogs in their showroom. And I think that is something that they do that they don't even realize creates commonality with people. So anyone who is dog friendly, immediately their guard comes down. Their dogs are extremely well trained, and so they don't really approach someone unless Mike and Chelsea want them to. But I think that is just something very small and something that, Mike, you probably didn't even realize really creates commonality with people coming into your showroom. There's a lot of animal lovers out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
very
a-
good point.
That's a litmus test for us.
Yeah, if they don't like dogs, that's where Mike says, no, we don't want to
That's
work
it.
with you.
Yeah.
That's his fifth no. It's like, dog doesn't like you, you're out.
Yeah, if they sneak in with they're peeking in, I go, I'm sorry, you're in the wrong place.
But that's it. You know, who thinks alike tends to be alike and resemble. So you seek out people that have similar interests to you. So of course, in the sales process, that's also very useful. So you'll seek out businesses that have similar interests to you. It might feel weird, but it's actually what happens behind it. So if you're a dog lover, they see the dog at the dealership where Mike is. Obviously, there's already a little bit of commonality there. It's like, oh, cool, they're dog lovers too. Oh, look at that golden retriever. I don't know what type of dog you have. I kind of like golden retrievers. So you just go for that.
Steph, I think Brody unmuted himself. I think Brody had something maybe to say, and Mirari was going to share something as well. So Brody, you go first.
All right. I was just on the relationship, on commonality. I mean, you do want to establish some things that are common to you, whether it's where you live or what you do. I'd almost say something on the other side of commonality is avoid politics and religion, because that will destroy
100%.
Yep.
in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, and there's really you can't have a neutral position in there, so that's
No.
really
Yes.
hard. Yeah,
No.
good point.
Very, very good points. Mirari, did you have something that you were going to share as well?
Yeah, if you guys can hear me.
Yeah, we can. You got it all figured out.
I did. Awesome. Well, we have a unique situation that happened with us here in the city of Houston, Texas, about 2 years ago. 3 years ago now. Harvey happened. So we had flooding in the entire city. So we had lots of clients that were coming in that were, I guess you could say, in a very fragile and sensitive kind of state, dealing with repairs to their entire home and coping with damages. So I found commonality because I found myself in the same places they were, because 2 years before I was in a similar situation where my home flooded. So being able to talk them through and have them feel supported in the sense that I understood everything that they were going through. So, you know, maybe they seemed overwhelmed, maybe they seemed frustrated. I was able to kind of help alleviate that through our shared experiences.
Excellent, great example.
Awesome. Yeah, that's like being able to truly understand the pain that they're going through, just like makes them at ease, makes them trust you more, kind of gives you a bit more credibility as well, because they know that you've gone through it, so they believe everything that you're telling them.
Yeah. So that's our commonality. And you see my third pillar and my second highest. They're actually in order of impact. So propriety is pretty good. Maybe an example, we didn't give them propriety, but being on time. In our culture, it's super important. So that goes propriety too. Competence, talking about me, my past experiences, my business, to demonstrate a little bit of competence. Some people sometimes are a little bit off-put by that. They feel it is braggy. But if the first time we're meeting, there's nothing for you to go on to see if I'm competent or not, other than explaining a little bit about my past history and what I can bring and what my company can bring. So that goes a little farther than propriety. Commonality goes even a little more farther, a little bit more impact, by showing that we have things in common and I can relate to you. And then the fourth one, the one that actually has the most impact, that sometimes people don't realize it, is intent. Demonstrating intent, or letting you know what my intentions are. How would you, anybody, for anybody that rings a bell or wants to chime in, I'm feeling Amy. What does that ring a bell for you? Would it be demonstrating intent, showing intent? to your clients.
Intent, do you mean like your intent to do the job, or?
Mhm.
Okay. I mean, I would think with most people, it's how quickly you're responding to voicemails, to emails, that kind of stuff to the client. If there's issues, you're on top of it, that kind of stuff.
Definitely helps. But also sometimes the simplest things are really powerful, especially if you're in the first couple of conversations with your client. How do I demonstrate intent? Because I couldn't tell you that I've returned your calls yet, but often just stating what your goal is with them is a demonstration of intent. So it can be a single phrase at the beginning of a first meeting. You know what? Me and the Majestic Kitchens or whatever, our goal is always to make sure we truly understand our clients' needs and provide to them the best possible dream kitchens we can. So, you know, it might sound flaky, me trying to come up with one right on the spot, but you probably already have kind of like a tagline like that. And the more felt it is, the better it is. So as long as you can tell them, here's why I'm in this business, and here's why we are in this business, and this is why we want to do this. Oftentimes people in our position take it for granted. You come to see people in cabinetry to get cabinets. But it is an incredibly powerful tool to remind your clients, this is what we'll be doing for you, and this is why we're doing this. And this is why I train as a designer, or this is why. And this can be used to great effect even with people with less experience to sometimes compensate for that competence. I've seen new designers, or in my past life, new reps that would go, you know what, I'm a little newer. We do work as a team, so we'll make sure that everything I do is really perfect. But because I'm new, I really want to make you the best possible kitchen to be able to showcase it and make you really proud. And that will make me really proud. So rest assured that whatever we'll do, I will do everything in my power to give you the best possible kitchen. And that's just a statement of intent. And if you believe it, people will light up. It's actually probably the most powerful tool. And what I want to do with you is probably give you a little structure to demonstrate intent. How does that sound? So that it's easier to do. So thank you, Harry. You can steal anything I say. One of my things that I do say is a great idea should be stolen. So that's why today I have all of you here, so you can share your experiences. And if you have great ideas, steal from each other. So that's actually the next step. If I go to, I'll skip the credibility exercise because we've done it as we were doing it. I asked all of you to share on what is property, competence, commonality without defining too much, and you're pretty good. Now, one great way to demonstrate intent without feeling cheesy is to use a PPP statement, a purpose, process, payoff statement. Now you can look at the lady there, she has a lot of intent. You can see in her eyes, she's really intense. Every time I see the picture, it's like, okay, I don't have a choice. She'll just crack my hand if I don't buy. But if we go back to that PPP, it's a very simple tool, probably my simplest tool, and it might be one of my most used ones. I actually use that anytime we start a meeting. If you remember, a little earlier, I said to you, the purpose of our module today is to address the symptoms of no trust and how to avoid them. The way we'll go about that, the process, and then at the end of this module, this is the payoff for you. So it's really just applying that to any meeting I have, first meeting, second meeting, third meeting. I'll use it even in long emails. If my email is really long, I'll say the purpose of my email is this. The way I want to explain you the subject will be broken up in 3 paragraphs. And at the end of this, well, Jack will know that he needs to do this. Jill will be able to get a summary and so on and so forth. So if I break it down, the purpose is, why are we meeting? Why are we chatting online? So, and I often start it really easily. The purpose of our meeting today is. So you can use other words, but I'm lazy. So I keep it really simple. The process is really the agenda. How do I propose we go about it? And the really key important step is manage time. So if you had set out a 45-minute meeting, I will remind the client here. So today, as you saw in my email, the purpose of our meeting is to go over a couple of initial designs that I've created for you. Let's say we're further on into the process. And I would like for you to let me know what you think about them. We'll talk about accessories, so that I'm already in the agenda here. So we'll see a couple of renderings. We'll talk about accessories. And then after that, I'll take all the information, make the modifications. The meeting as we planned should take about 45 minutes, managing time. And then at the end of this meeting, and that's usually what I forgot to say before following this, being taught this, I would do PPs. I would not do PPPs. So I would forget the payoff. But like any adult, you need a payoff. You don't do anything if you don't feel what's in it for me. So a child, you could say, you go to school because you need to learn math. You know, oh, okay, until they hit adolescence. But an adult, if you say you're going to a webinar, they'll say, okay, well, what will I gain from this? It's the same thing for a client. So what do I gain from this? Well, at the end of our meeting, I'll really have all the information that I need to actually update your kitchen and create for you the dream kitchen that you always wanted. How does that sound? I'll always finish off with how does that sound or something to that effect, because I want the feedback from the client. And the really cool thing here, there's a lot of things that happen. Purpose, it's cool. This is why we're doing this. The agenda is the meat and potatoes. I'm putting it in the middle. In the past, I would stop on the agenda and say, how does that sound? And the person was like, yeah, okay, 45 minutes. Do I still have 45 minutes? What do I have after this? So they're not super engaged. But if I finish on the payoff, so it takes about 45 minutes, but at the end of our meeting, I'm able to actually get all the information, update that kitchen, and send that back to you, your dream kitchen. I'm not thinking about 45 minutes now to get dream kitchen. That's something I want. You can, great. Or the kitchen that fits your needs, however you want to say it. And then I'll just ask them, how does that sound? So if they don't have that 45 minutes, I'll know them. Not 20 minutes in, and they're like, well, you know what? I actually have the kids I have to pick up. And you're like, before the best part. And this is where, do I speak super fast and they understand less? Or do I book again? At least now you can go, you know what? You only have 20 minutes. I understand that. You need to go pick up the kids. Maybe we should reschedule. Or maybe I'll just address points A and point B. And then we reschedule for point C or D. But you know then from the get-go. So that helps manage your time and their time on it. So that's, to me, a super simple tool that changed the perception of my clients towards me. They felt I was much more professional actually after using that. And that's actually demonstrating intent at the same time. The purpose why I'm here is to go over these aspects today. We'll go through this way and we'll ask questions here. Takes this amount of time, and this is what you get at the end. So simple way, very effective to demonstrate intent, to already start to be professional and competent by managing time. And I will stick to it. If you told me 45 minutes, I will look at my watch every now and then, not too much because I don't want to distract from you, but I'll go, oh, we're about at the 45-minute mark that we had set. And they might be super engaged. And I have more time, but I just want to let you know if you had other stuff that you need to take care of. And that's also a great gauge. 45 minutes later, it's like, no, keep on going. It's like, okay, let's go and do it. But I will be that professional to manage time and say, we're up. And you might have had other things you had planned, so I don't want to impede on them. Sounds good? Anybody feels this is inappropriate, wants to challenge? I love good challenges. Now's the time to let me know. No, we're good? Because I'll have you practice this. This is the next step. So what I'd like to do, we will break off in groups. In small groups, and I'll ask you to pick a process. So maybe the group A, where there will be 2 or 3 people, will go, oh, let's do a first contact, the first contact. Maybe group B will also do the first contact. Maybe you'll choose, oh, let's do about when I have the designs ready. And I want you to craft the PPP statement for that meeting. So first you'll have to understand or agree among each other. Let's do one for first contact, or let's do one for when I'm done. And I'm meeting them to see if the kitchen meets their needs. I can have a PPP tailored for that. So just to get you some practice in there, you can write it up on a piece of paper or in OneNote if you use OneNote. And think about a true customer and that phase of sale. The closest it is to reality, the better. So amongst your group, pick a customer. You might not have a customer in common. Just pick a customer, a phase of sale, maybe something you're going to do in the next couple of days or next couple of hours, who knows, so that you get that practice under your belt and have the rest of the group help you craft it. Sounds good? We'll take about 5 minutes to do so. We'll get you off in the break-off groups, work it off in 5 minutes, and then when you come back, you'll make sure that you have a spokesperson and you'll share that PPP statement. Because I guarantee you'll have nuggets of gold in there. And then Amy will be able to steal a little part of one PPP, and Steve will steal another one, and we'll all be better for it. Sounds good? Okay, so now I'll use this newfangled Zoom software to actually create break-off groups automatically. It's like we're about how many participants? 12.
There's 14 of us on here right now, Stefan,
Yep.
including us.
So Marnie, I'll make you a co-host so you don't get assigned automatically. And me and Marnie will actually, and Jessica, go through the rooms and answer your questions if you have a hard time starting, or if you have a question to craft the PPP afterwards, and we'll help you out. So I'll create 5 rooms. You'll be 2 to 3 participants. Marari doesn't have a mic, so she might need to type.
She does.
Oh, she does. She figured it out. It's true.
I do.
Yay. Okay, so the rooms will be created and you'll be assigned automatically to there. I'll open them up so you'll get a prompt to join in. And once we're about a minute before we end, I'll give you a signal that the rooms will be closing in a minute. So then you can rejoin the main group. So you'll see it's super simple. There'll be a button on your screen. So I'll open up the groups. You then choose a phase and who's crafting the PPP, and everybody works at it. There we go. So you've all been invited to join your breakout rooms.
It put me in a room, Stefan. Is that okay?
Me too.
Oh, okay. I thought that my co-host wouldn't be assigned to a room, but you just go. Yeah,
It's okay. We'll go.
We'll go.
Because you'll be, otherwise Steve will be by himself.
Stefan, I'm in 2 rooms because I'm logged on visually through the office computer, but it does not have the camera, so I'm on my phone.
Okay, you can pick either or. There are the same number of people, so you could go for room 1 or 3.
1 was on my phone, so why don't we do that?
Go for the one that suits you best. Oh, still here. Did it work?
No, I'm not seeing it there.
I can't send you there. Oh, I think you got it.
No.
Oh, I can move you. Okay, so which one is, I'll try. Okay, I'll try and I'll see if I'm moving you the right one. There you go, you got it. Welcome back, Laura.
Hello. We're all done.
Excellent. Okay. Back.
I love these breakout rooms, Stefan.
Cool, eh?
That was cool.
Yeah,
I've never seen that utilized before. That's awesome.
we just used it for the first time last week.
Yeah, this is pretty cool.
I like it.
Makes it a little easier to work in smaller groups, have good conversations.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking, not everybody's doing back, so in 3 seconds, I think the system will kick everybody back here. Yep. There you go.
Yay.
Everybody's back. Excellent.
Even
So,
I could have talked for like another hour. We got food.
I think a lot of you could entertain a conversation for a little while there. Some
Are
great.
you a rep? Oh,
I'm sorry, Steve.
Marmy, are you a rep or are you a chef?
I am.
A
I
rep?
am. Yeah.
A
It's
good
Work
one
for
too.
SSI for me?
Sorry, you were saying?
I'm telling those guys you said that, Steve.
I know.
Rhodey, I think you
I'm
wanted
always here for you, Steve.
Okay.
Go ahead, Rhodey.
I was just saying, he was asking if Marnie was a rep. I'm saying she's a good one too. We really
Oh,
appreciate
thank you.
Marnie.
She is.
I have very good reps. I've been with them so long, I have to give them all.
It's true.
Good.
Thank you, Brody.
You
Oh,
can
you're
craft a
welcome.
PPP statement to talk to your rep and let them know how you like Marnie.
Yeah, I'll explain it to them.
I'd love to hear some of your ideas. So let's start numerically. And we'll go for breakout room 1 with Laura, Lynn, and Marari. Who's your spokesperson?
I am.
Lynn. So did you manage to craft the PPP?
Yes, we did.
Shoot it
So
off.
we are talking about one of my clients. Her
Yeah.
name is Lisa, and she has made several requests for revisions through this process. The purpose is to make the requested revisions and that she has requested, and the process is to, which are the purpose, the revision she asked for was a change in window size, which then requires changing the cabinetry design on that particular wall because we're going for a bigger window. And she also wants to make a change in the door style and the cabinet frame style, going from frameless to an inset. So those are the process of that would be to recreate the design or revise the design and show her the layouts, the elevations, 3D drawings so that she can see the actual look the kitchen will now have with those changes, and change the cabinet style as well, the door style as well, so that she gets a really good visual. And of course, the payoff would be to make all these final decisions and move towards processing the order.
And what I love it. It's very detailed. But your payoff, you're saying, can you repeat the payoff again?
The payoff would be to have her sign off on all the design elements and selections so that we can move forward with processing the order.
So that feels like a payoff for you. What's the payoff?
She's
for her?
on a timeline. She
Yeah.
she wants everything to move very quickly. And
Okay.
the
We're trying to
payoff
move
is
it.
that this way will help us finalize everything and move it into production, so we are not delaying the renovation process any longer for her.
Love it. Love it. So here, what I'd love you to do, and I won't put you on the spot here, but in the future, I would love you to introduce the purpose by saying the purpose of our meeting is, because you described it really well, but eventually I'd like it to hear in the form of you talking to the client.
Okay.
So you got it really good. I won't put you on the spot here because I love what you did. But if we can, so the purpose of our meeting, you talk to me like I'm the client. So we'll actually do that with breakout room 2. So love your first one, Lynn, Laura, and Marari. Breakout room 2, Brody, Jessica, and Trisha. Who's your spokesperson?
I said it shouldn't be me, so it's going to be Brody.
So Brody,
Yes, sir.
what is your PPP about? What phase of the sale?
Yeah, we chose the final stage of the sale for for our PPP talk today, and so the purpose of our final visit is the purpose today will be to go over the final design, make sure that you're comfortable with everything, make sure that there are no surprises to you and to me. And to second part of that is to go through the contract and make sure that you understand the contract that we're doing today. The process is we're going to take about an hour to an hour 15 minutes to do this. We're going to go over all the door styles, the colors, the trim choices, what's inside all the different cabinets that we're doing for your kitchen. Make sure that you understand what we're doing here, and then we'll again discuss the contract, so to make sure you understand what's in our contract, and then the payoff will be we're able to order your kitchen and you're all set, ready to go.
Love it. Woo! Excellent. So that's a pretty awesome one. You managed the agenda, you managed the time, also, and what's in it for me. So another great one there. Excellent job. Now, breakout room 3, we had Jason, Lynn, and Mike. Who's your spokesperson?
Well, we didn't discuss that. I think we were missing Lynn in our meeting, but
Yeah, because Lynn is logged in here twice, kind of.
Yeah.
So there was just 2 people in there.
You got it, Jason?
Yeah, if you want me to, here. We kind of got sidetracked, so I don't have everything written down, but we decided to take the approach of if it was a new client, that new prospective client, for example. So although Mike and I have similarities in how we approach that, he has a showroom and I don't, so it's a little bit different in that regard. But basically, the purpose or the goal of our meeting would to meet the prospective clients, get to know one of each other, review ideas for the dream project, just basically gather as much information as possible. The process of that would be, 45 minutes to an hour and a half to sit and discuss all the different ideas, goals for the scope of the project.
You're doing good.
Yeah, and then the outcome for that would be to determine whether it's a good working relationship, and the result is to moving forward to the next steps of getting those design concepts together and building that working relationship.
Love it. Love the payoff, especially, and then we'll see if we have a good working relationship going forward. Very honest, very open. Love that. Managed time. Talked about the agenda and the why we're here. So thank you for winging it based on your conversation. So there was actually work in there. Don't worry, other teams got sidetracked too. Great conversations happening. So thank you for creating one on the spot based on the conversation.
Well, I had some of it written, but
Oh, okay. Breakout room 4, Amy and Margaret. Oh, Margaret, you're muted. There you. I tried to unmute.
There
There
we
you
go.
go.
Got it.
So you wanna try one, Margaret?
Amy, am I in charge?
Yeah, you have all the notes.
All right.
You've been voluntold.
Okay, so tomorrow early afternoon, I have a meeting with new clients, the Chevaliers, and we're going to do a Zoom meet and greet in the showroom. That's going to allow us to get to know each other. We're going to try and find out as much information about the clients as possible. They're actually going to give them a chance to see the showroom without actually coming in. So in Ontario, we're still trying to very much mitigate how much exposure people have to each other. I'm also asking the clients to make sure that they have a phone or iPad accessible so that they can show me a little bit of their space and we can get a little bit of idea of the scope of the job. We're also going to discuss how we work and how we're going to proceed. And according to Amy, we're going to work on getting our commitment to getting an hourly design fee so that we can go forward with the next meeting. So we'll spend about an hour to an hour and a half through that process, looking at the showroom, look at them, and then talking about all the details and about them as people. And then at the end of it, hopefully we'll get them to agree to that hourly design fee and book a meeting for us to start the true design process. How's that?
That's not bad. That's not bad. I like it. I felt you were uncomfortable about the
Be
design.
smoother.
I had to talk her into the design fee.
Like,
So-
I want to do it. It's different here. So yeah.
She's gonna try it for real tomorrow.
Oh, good.
Hey, I'm going to try it for real.
You're worth it.
Nice.
You're worth it. Oh,
Yeah, you are.
definitely.
You gotta present it like you're worth it.
It has
Absolutely. Yes, well, I totally know that. It's the competing against the little crappy guys in town and still being able to get my foot in the door, which is silly, I know, particularly.
Well, if it works, the other crappy guys will follow you with it. So.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, this is totally off topic, but I am totally agree with Amy. And if you place value on yourself, they will too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was the crappy guy in our town. Amy talked me in.
So see, she converted. Thank you. So you're worth it. You should do it. Yeah.
Hey,
love
did
it.
we miss anything, Stefan?
Well, here I wasn't sure about when you moved from the purpose to the process. So,
Oh, okay.
why are we meeting today? And then you start to enumerate the different topics. So I wasn't sure what was the why, what was the agenda of it.
Okay.
So I was trying to figure that out. So it might have been well done, but to me, I needed a little bit of clarity here. So today, the purpose of our meeting, if you were to just tell me, what's the purpose of the meeting that you want to do tomorrow or later on today, Margaret?
Tomorrow, we're going to get to know each other and see each other's spaces and see if we want to work together.
Excellent. How will we go about it, Margaret?
We'll have an hour to an hour and a half Zoom meeting. We'll start by introducing each other and having some questions about how we work and how they live. And then we'll move on to showing the clients the showroom, showing you the showroom. We'll walk around and take a look at some different options and get a feel of the space. And then after that, I'd like you to show me your house and we'll take a quick walk through and see what the scope of the work is.
Excellent. I love it. And what am I getting out of this? What's in it for me, Margaret?
I think it'll be really worthwhile time invested because you'll be able to see if we work together, if we can mesh. And if so, we'll go to the next step in the design process, which would be to set up a meeting specifically to detail out what we're going to do with the design work. And we'll get you on an hourly fee for that work.
Yeah, high five for you.
Awkward! Awkward!
High
Amy! Yeah, I'll practice that tonight, Amy.
You have to let me know tomorrow how it goes.
Okay.
Great job. So see, just doing it a second time, how much more fluid it becomes.
It was better, yeah.
Yeah.
More confident.
Still a little awkward with the money, but we'll get there.
Yeah. But you know, harass one of your colleagues, practice it.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Practice it on your dog. I mean, your husband. I mean,
and
Dog's right here.
there you go. Practice on the dog.
And it's okay if you stumble the first couple of times, even with the client. It's okay. It'll happen. It sucks. It's okay. You'll go
It takes
through it.
practice. Yeah.
Exactly. And eventually you'll get better and better at it. And once you hit that comfortable zone, they will actually resonate positively with that. So it's okay if the first couple of times they're unsure or they don't react the way you want. It's totally fine. It's part of that learning process. Expect it.
Okay.
And
Margaret, I have a suggestion, Margaret. If you're, and Amy might have given you the suggestion too, if you're hesitant for a design fee or retainer of some sort, maybe on the design fee, possibly so you feel more comfortable with it and you're more, and it'll flow better if you limit yourself to a certain amount of design for free. And then graduate to zero free as you move along.
Well, and realistically, we've done it differently where we've instigated a larger fee later when to take pictures away or when they wanted to take a design. But we've always had them be able to come into the showroom and see things, and that kind of gave them skin in the game, right? But not enough, and certainly we've done a lot of work for not enough remuneration. So it, and we've always said that money goes towards a purchase.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
If you do an hour or an hour or two, whatever, for free, then at least they'll have value for what you've done because they'll see how little or how much you've done in that amount of time.
In that time. Okay, that's fair. That's totally fair.
In their mind, they might be thinking they're going to get full photorealistic renderings of their kitchen. And you're like, this took 2 hours.
Not with version 12. It takes freaking 20 minutes for one picture.
Sorry.
One thing I find that helps too is if you kind of set, certain thresholds of what you're going to offer, and then certain prices or your fees to cover that. So that way, a client never feels like they're getting overcommitted into a large dollar value. They're easing
like a fee schedule.
Yeah, kind of, I guess. And then that way, if at any point they want to pull the chute, they can, and they're not overexposed, and they're not. They don't feel like then they're committed forward, and then, you got to give them something in return, right? So if it's, at some point, maybe it just gives them, a few 3D renderings, for example, or if you get further on in the process and they pay more money, then maybe that unlocks, dimension drawings or whatever it might be,
Right. Okay.
You could even do a PPP statement for just the fees. So even if you just do that for yourself, Margaret, like the purpose of a fee is this is the process of how the fees work. And here's the payoff. The payoff is that you're getting, gorgeous designs by a qualified designer whose time is valuable, So kind of maybe internally do a PPP statement for why you do fees. To bring it back.
Great.
Or
because I was really struggling at where the points were when I was trying to figure out. That's what Amy and I were talking about, like how much is enough to start, how far do I go, where do I, and that's just something I have to figure out what's fair or what I'm comfortable with, I think.
Mike, you wanted to add to that?
I just said for a small fee, you get your kitchen on a napkin.
Well, Mike, when we talk about professionalism,
that's how good I am.
Pay more for paper.
That's all it takes.
But it is a Louis Vuitton napkin.
There you go.
Great. Did I forget a group? Was there a group that didn't go? Yes.
Yeah.
Mine and Steve. Steve's like, no, we're good.
No, I'm good.
Steve, I want to hear your PPP.
It's a good one.
It was good. I had the fortunate that I was able to meet clients right before Corona hit, where I saw them at the house, did some field measurements, and consulted with them. From there, it went to the Zoom that I wasn't so comfortable with, but become comfortable. So at that time, they came as a referral. I did 1 or 2 designs, taking a wall, leaving a wall in, just really a concept of a kitchen without a lot of detail. From there, I started to talk to them about construction and different door styles after Pinterest and house exchanges and so forth. So I'm in a dilemma where I want to bring them in and get some decisions. So what I would like to ask them is the purpose of this meeting is going to be to get us through cabinet construction, door style, and tones of our wood species or colors so that we can take our design to the next level, and I can get you into more of a 3D rendering that'll show you exactly how the kitchen is going to look. And at that time, I'll be able to finally get you to the budget that you've wanted to be at and be comfortable at to take the project to the next step.
Love it. How will it go about
It'll
it?
take about an hour.
What's the steps that are involved?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in trouble.
Because you're already selling it on purpose. Loved it.
Yeah.
So, Marty?
Well, I was going to say, we talked about the process. You know, one of he said his challenges was really getting them to zero in. So we talked about how a PPP statement for someone like this is probably even more vital, because you're saying, instead of them kind of going off in different directions, you're saying, look, the purpose of this meeting is to zero in and finalize your door style and your finish. And we're going to do that because Steve has done so much work and he's got all these door samples together, right? So the process.
All wiped down.
So the process that Steve talked about was that he is going to show them the different door styles, give them options based on the budget he knows they're familiar or they're comfortable with, or discuss that.
And also construction, as full overlay, inset, you know, take them through that a little bit so that they understand.
And then if I understand correctly, the payoff was to take this to the next step, to the next level.
Sure, and they're doing a whole house, so they're anxious to get through a certain point with me so that they can move into other things too. So kind of that snowball effect that I've been controlling a little bit, you know.
So we'll enable you to move forward your project so you can spend more time focusing on the other elements going forward, and you have a peace of mind with this part.
Good point. Good point.
Love it.
Put it.
Excellent. And it's cool to do these things together too. That's something I love, because I hear your idea, I rephrase it, and Marnie helps out a little bit. So this is something you might want to do also as a team activity. So I've had good success in a later meeting by using this type of phrase and this type of way of bringing it. And then somebody's going, wow, for new clients, I had more success building trust, releasing tension, and creating task tension by using this one. So it's really cool and refinable process over time. It's worthwhile to do that as a team also. And that's something that we'll also do as webinars, co-development webinars, where we will do a little bit more of what we're doing here now, where we'll just bring different people with different ideas and exchange on success and failures. So I'm trying to start to do this here with this webinar, but we'll actually have eventually more of those.
I have a son-in-law and a niece that works for me, which is very nice, but the one I filmed with her with a client, and just so she could learn from herself and just to watch her own reactions at how she handled things and then thought about doing it differently, it was like one of the greatest tools. It was a great tool.
Definitely. When I used to do sales training in the past as a consultant, it was a 3-day sales training, face-to-face, full day. And it would culminate in the last day where we would go over a lot of this process and more of this, and we would film them. We would make it really safe environment, because it's already hard when you're with your peers talking about that sales process. So I love the fact that you felt in a safe enough environment that you shared, all of you, but we would do that and film them and then play back the film, and people just looking at themselves go, oh, I do that. If you were to tell them, so try to soften this. What are you talking about? I'm pretty soft. And then you listen to themselves and they go, oh, wow, I really, barged into this guy. And it's like, yeah. So I love the fact that you filmed. You need a certain amount of humility to allow yourself to be filmed and willing to improve, but it's an incredible tool if you can get to that. And we all have cell phones. It's really to do that. Really easy to do. I have to have a camera in the past. So
well, and you have your showrooms have cameras enabled on too, so there's a lot of that.
Yeah, but that would be a great other activity to say, let's just film ourselves with the client with the client's consent and
Mhm.
see how the
I didn't do
interaction
that.
goes. Yeah, that's it. Or
Oh,
mock it
well.
up, just mocking it up. I would play the client and I would have my rep talk to me and we would film that and say, and I would give them any comments. I would actually just have them listen and say, you give me comments. What went well and what did you not like? And they usually be worse than my comments. And I would just tone them down, say, no, this is actually went well. And here you're right, you're a little too rough. So great, you get a point too, Steve. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover today. There's more in the content, but I know that we will go above by going to the empathy aspect, which I call the Ben Duffy. And we'll keep that for a little other webinar. But I know that today we've attained our goals of working on credibility. So start with the PPP statement, demonstrate propriety, speaking the right language, at least for me, having the right norms, being proper, being on time, demonstrate competence, talk a little bit about my experience, my business, borrow it if I need to, as Marty was saying. Commonality, find common ground. That common ground can be a lot of different things. Could be as easy as having a dog, and there's dog lovers. My favorite common ground is curiosity. Oftentimes I might go to a client and I don't see off the bat anything I can relate directly to them. I once walked in and the guy was a furniture store and he had little NASCARs spread out at a different spot in the furniture store. I said, how odd, little Matchbox NASCARs here and there. And I asked him, are you a fan of NASCAR? He says, yes. And I'm like, I know nothing of NASCAR. So I said, but I'm really curious. I said, you know what? The only thing I know about NASCAR is they drive left. And there's got to be something passionate about NASCAR, but I don't know what. And he's like, let me tell you about it. And he let me know for about 10, 15 minutes how cool NASCAR was. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can see now. I'll actually want to see a NASCAR race. But that's a way for me to build commonality out of thin air. It's just, I'll be interested in something that passions them. So that could also be kitchens. And then in a future webinar, we'll go about the Ben Duffy and eventually the other steps. So before closing it off, I need questions, comments, cries of joy,